Hi and welcome to another YouTube video, and this video is going to be something a little bit different because it won't be a builds video and it won't be a CAS video either. It will be me trying to figure out which of the expansion packs in The Sims 4 is my favorite expansion pack. And I don't just want to go with my gut and take that, I want to make it a little bit more systematically. And these expansion packs are going to compete in 4 different categories. And I divided them up into the best world that comes with the expansion packs, which expansion pack has the best or the most used gameplay, which has the best creator sim items and clothes, and which has the best build and buy items. So there will be 4 different top 9 lists. Top 9 because there are 9 expansion packs, and based on the place on that list, the expansion pack will get a certain number of points. So the 9th place, the last place, is going to get 0 points, and the first place is going to get 8 points. So after that there will be the 4 different top 9 lists and also an overall score to determine which is the overall best expansion packs. This is of course all based on my personal opinion, so there is no reason for anyone to get mad. This isn't the ultimate truth, this is just my opinion. But I still think or hope that this video might be helpful to some people that want to buy an expansion pack but can't choose which one, so that you can decide based on what you value the most. If you value creator sim way more than the build and buy items, or do you really want to overall get the most for your money? So let's get right into it and start with the worlds. So the 9th place, the last place for the world, is pretty self-explanatory because it has to be Seasons. Because Seasons doesn't have a world, so never were the 0 points more fitting anywhere for the last place than with Seasons, because there just is no world with Seasons. The 8th place goes to Get to Work and Magnolia Promenade. I often forget that Magnolia Promenade exists, which probably already tells a lot about Magnolia Promenade, and I personally in my gameplay never play as a shop owner or anything, so I also don't use it for that purpose or never visit these pre-built shops that there are. I think there are 1 or 2 save games where I placed a building there, and the surroundings were kind of nice, but there also are only 4 lots, so it doesn't really count as a world, so deserved 8th place. Now when we get to our 7th place, there is a big jump in quality of the world, because at 7th place I already put Brightchester from Discover University. I really like that we got 2 universities with university and that they are so different, and I love the design of the world and the overall aesthetic, but the one big problem that I have with Brightchester is that 2 of the 3 neighborhoods there are only inhabitable if you are a university student at that particular university. And because it's very time consuming to play as a university student, I don't do it very often. So if I want to fill up my world with some sims that I made, it's very annoying that I only can really use 1 of the 3 neighborhoods, and that leaves me with very little lots to actually play in. And that is why Discover University is at place 7 and only gets 2 points. At 6th place there is Del Sol Valley from Get Famous, and that has a very simple reason, which is that the lighting on every single lot is awful. And there is also a lot of unused space on the map of Del Sol Valley, which kind of feels like there was a 4th neighborhood planned but not executed, which is kind of sad. But I placed Del Sol Valley above Brightchester because when you play on the very big lot where the expensive houses are, the view is spectacular, it's so beautiful. And also one time I filled these 5 lots where usually there are bars and stuff with Mediterranean family houses, and together they created such a lovely neighborhood. So Del Sol Valley definitely also has its nice sides. In 5th place there is Evergreen Harbor from Eco Lifestyle. I think it's very cool how the neighborhoods can change their appearance based on the environment and on the neighborhood's action plans that are active. But it's kind of a bummer that the two nicer neighborhoods both have only one normal like house lot that you can use, and also the whole industrial harbor aesthetic isn't really for me, so I had to put it at place 5. At 4th place, there is Sanmei from City Living. I personally don't enjoy apartments that much because I always like to build the outside more than decorating the inside. But in almost every single apartment, if you look out of the window, the view of Sanmei is just awesome, and there are so many beautiful places, for example, to get your Sims engaged at. And also I love the central park of Sanmei, so that is why Sanmei is at 4th place. Now we are already in the top 3, and in 3rd place there is Windenburg. Windenburg just feels like home to me as a German girl. This Tudor style really reminds me of the old parts of a lot of cities that I've been to, and I really love Windenburg. Windenburg is a very large Sims world. There are 4 neighborhoods, it's filled with lots, and there are so many opportunities to build, so many beautiful lots with beautiful surroundings and awesome lighting, and I really, really like Windenburg. The only reason why it isn't even higher up is just because a lot of the pre-built houses are pretty ugly in Windenburg, and I don't really like that, and I don't always want to have to renovate every house in the world or the neighborhood just to play with it and only see pretty houses. So that is why our 2nd place, Brindleton Bay from Cats and Dogs, is 1 place higher than Windenburg. Because in Brindleton Bay there is just everything right. There are a lot of lots to build on. There are very beautiful pre-made houses, which really surprises me from The Sims. And also I love the style, but I also love the environment that Brindleton Bay is set in. I love the beach area. There in general is no other world or neighborhood that I rather go jogging with my Sims and just see what they see than in Brindleton Bay, because it's just so beautiful. And the lighting is great on most of the lots, and it's just really fun to play there, so deserved place too. And 1st place, of course, had to be Sulani from Island Living. Sulani is just the most gorgeous world in The Sims 4. Everything's right, the trees and the whole plants and the layout of the islands and the volcano. And my favorite spot of the whole island is that little pond with a waterfall, which is super romantic and where you can take your Sims relationships to the next level, if you know what I mean. And it's so beautiful in Sulani, so it wasn't even a question for me which world had to be number 1. The next category is which expansion pack has the best gameplay. But I can't really judge that because every Simmer has a different way of playing the game. So I will just judge which pack has the gameplay that I use the most. And in this list, place 9 goes to Get to Work, so sadly no points for Get to Work this time. And that has a simple reason, which is that I don't play with the active careers. I don't care for aliens a lot. I have been to 6M once and had no need to go there again. And because I never use this gameplay with the active careers, it just makes sense to place it on place 9. Place 8 goes to City Living because most of the gameplay of City Living is related to the apartments, and I don't really play in apartments. Then there also are these events and stuff on these community places, but I never really go there. I just always click that away. The only part of the gameplay that I really use is karaoke, but I don't think that is, for me personally, not enough gameplay that I get out of City Living as an expansion pack. That would be a stuff pack thing, like a karaoke stuff pack like we had knitting. But for me, as more or less the only gameplay that I get out of it, it's not really enough, and that is why there is the 8th place for City Living. The 7th place goes to Island Living because the gameplay in Island Living is basically mermaids, and I think that, for example, vampires are way better executed as an occult sim than mermaids are, so that is not as good but there is also the gameplay aspect of the behavior of the neighbors and the overall like atmosphere of the people, that this is very different than in the other worlds, and also the whole environment thing. As far as execution is concerned, the whole environment thing with the island feels kind of like an afterthought, but I really like the execution of the feeling of the neighborhood and how nice the people are, because that just leads to a good gameplay experience if you play there, when the neighbors are very nice, when they are understanding if you aren't there, when they kind of welcome you to the new neighborhood, or they bring you food when you don't have any, or your Sims struggle with money. In comparison to the Sims in, for example, Willow Creek, where they want to poison you with fruitcake and get very upset if you don't give them enough attention. The sixth place may be a little bit controversial because some people really love the gameplay of this pack, but I put cats and dogs into the sixth place because I personally don't like to play with pets a lot. I think they are sometimes a little bit annoying, and because they aren't controllable like in The Sims 3, I sometimes have problems monitoring their needs, and I feel like I kind of neglect them sometimes, and then I look at them again and they are all dirty and I feel bad. So most of the time I don't really play with pets, and I know a lot of people love them. It's just I don't really play with it, and this is why it is place 6. In fifth place, I put Discover University. I really like the university gameplay every once in a while. I think it is nice and difficult for the Sims game because sometimes it's just too easy, and if you really want to get in there and get attached to a specific family, university has great gameplay. It's just that I often like to move very fast with my generations, so I don't play it as often because it just takes too long for my gameplay style. In fourth place, there is Get Famous, and I personally really like to play with the fame system. I really like some of the perks or rewards that you can get, especially the one where you can introduce yourself and you are instantly friends with the person. And also it's very fun to get the one where everyone wants to dress like you and all the people in the city walk around in whatever outfit you wear, which can be very funny depending on what you wear. And also, I think the actor career is my favorite career in The Sims 4. I really like the people you can meet on set. They are sometimes very interesting. I like the overall workday flow of that career, and I also like that you don't get as much money as fast as you do in some other careers. And now we are in the top 3 again, and the third place for gameplay goes to Seasons. I really like the calendar, I like the festivals, I like that you can make your own festival, and I also really like the interaction between the weather and the farming in The Sims 4, so deserved third place for Seasons, I think. In second place, there is Eco Lifestyle. I personally really like to play rags to riches type games, and I love dumpster diving. It's such a cool feature in The Sims 4. I like the whole environment thing and how it's executed. I know a lot of people had problems with it, but I really got to change it in both directions without many problems, which was very fun. And I just like the whole gameplay of it. I really like the changes they did to the off-the-grid system, and it's a lot of fun for me, and it made me have a lot of fun with gameplay when it came out. So that is why I think it deserves the second place, even though I know not everyone is a fan of this pack. And in first place, there is Get Together. I just love to use the group feature in my gameplay. I like to have my children have little friend groups that grow up together, and this is made so much easier with the group system. I like to have broader family, stay in touch with each other when a Sim has a birthday, but I don't really want to throw a big party. I just gather the family group, or just for your sim to find other sims with the same interests or the singles of the neighborhood. It's a very fun feature that is also incredibly useful and that I use all the time, and this is why I chose Get Together as my first place for gameplay. And now on to the third category, which is Create a Sim items. And this one was pretty difficult to judge because sometimes like the quality of the hairstyles is very different from the quality of the clothing items, or sometimes the male sims have very good clothing options in that pack but the female sims haven't, or it's the other way around, and so that was kind of hard to judge, but I tried my best. And so for the 9th place I picked Island Living, and I picked Island Living because of the clothing. I really like some of the female hairstyles, but there is a problem with the clothing options, and that is that the clothing is very specific to the island theme of Island Living, but the townies in other worlds run around with the clothing items from Island Living as well, which can lead to some townies who are like dressed like a businessman, like from the waist up, and then they just have an Island Living skirt the way down, and it's just very weird, and it adds a lot to the weirdness how townies are dressed, and this is one of my biggest problems with the Create a Sim items from Island Living. And I have to say that especially Create a Sim items were really close by each other and very hard to judge because they all had some good sides. So on the 8th place is Seasons, and there are still some items from Seasons that I really like, especially in the tops category, but there just wasn't any hairstyles that I frequently use or that I particularly like, so it just had to be 8th place because all of the other packs scored in like both categories, hairstyles and clothing items. The 7th place goes to Eco Lifestyle for a similar reason that the 9th place goes to Island Living, and that is that there are some items that are seriously super weird. You all know which pair of jeans I'm talking about, and there are just some clothes that you don't want to see your townies running around with, but there also are some seriously very beautiful and nice options, and this is why Eco Lifestyle is 2 places above Island Living. In 6th place there is Get to Work, and I really have to honor how many hairstyles there are in Get to Work. Get to Work was the first ever expansion pack, and way back then they put in way more hairstyles than they do now, and some of the hairstyles are seriously so nice, and I think the Create a Sim items are the best thing about Get to Work, but the clothing just isn't as good as some of the recent packs. There are very great male clothing items in Get to Work, but there just isn't as much for the female sims, and I think it isn't as nice as some of the newer packs. In 5th place there is City Living, and City Living has some seriously great clothing items and some that are so important to show cultural diversity, and I have to say I don't use these items enough in my day-to-day gameplay, I think, but they are very important and seriously great, so I put them in 5th place even though I don't use them a lot. In 4th place there is Discover University, even though it doesn't have a lot of hairstyles that I like. I know a lot of people really like the fun buns hairstyle, but I'm not very into it. But there is a lot of very modern fashion. I don't mean modern fashion in like a high fashion sense. I just mean it has some items that people wear nowadays and that feel recent, and they help at least me to represent myself and a lot of my friends better than the items or some of the clothing items from some other packs. Now we are in the top 3, and in 3rd place there is Cats and Dogs. Cats and Dogs doesn't have like the wide variety of clothing items that I very frequently use. It has some clothing items that I use a lot, but mainly it's the hairstyles with Cats and Dogs that I really love. My favorite female hairstyle is from Cats and Dogs. It's the one that is kind of in between wavy and curly, and I really love it. And because of that, but also because there are even more great female hairstyle options and some great male hairstyle options, that secured the third place for Cats and Dogs. The second place goes to Get Together, because Get Together is also one of the earlier packs that had a lot more Creator Sim items than some of the latest packs. And there are so many great clothing options, and a lot of the shoes that I always use for my Sims are from Get Together, and there are great hairstyles and awesome clothing options. So Get Together, awesome second place. And finally, in first place, for Creator Sim items, there is Get Famous, because Get Famous has just so many gorgeous outfits. There are a lot of stunning dresses, but there are also a lot of awesome top and bottom options, and there are so many options that I really like that I took more screenshots of outfits with Get Famous than in any other packs, because there were just so many options that looked awesome together that I just wanted to screenshot when I tried around with outfits just made of items from that pack. And that was just a sign that for Creator Sim items, Get Famous just had to be on top. And now the last category, and for some of us maybe the most important one when it comes to judging a new pack, which is the build and buy items. In ninth place there is Get Famous, because Get Famous has this one very specific like golden and rich style which you can't really use a lot, so it has very limited use. I don't think the items are that pretty, so I had to give the ninth place to Get Famous. The 8th place goes to Get to Work, because Get to Work items can only work in a very specific style, like with Get Famous, but with Get to Work it's more like an alien build or a super clean office building or something, but in your day-to-day family home you won't use Get to Work items as much, or at least you will be fine without having them. In 7th place, there sadly has to be Get Together. I personally love Get Together and I love to build Tudor houses, and for that and to decorate the outside, Get Together items are very useful, and also the Get Together column is just the best, but sadly there aren't a lot of very nice items to decorate the inside of houses with, so it very much lacks in that apartment. And similar to Creator Sim, the build and buy category was very close in quality, so yeah, that is why Get Together had to be in 7th place. In 6th place there is Island Living, and Island Living has first of all a lot of gorgeous plants, and second of all this very nice boho style that is also kind of specific, but it can also be incorporated in a lot of other builds. And now on to the 5th place, which is Discover University. And Discover University has this kind of IKEA aesthetic, and I really like that. It's simple, but I felt like it was very helpful when I, for example, tried to recreate my real life home, and I think a lot of people could feel that way. So the items in Discover University may not be the most beautiful or stunning, but they are super helpful and practical, and also have a kind of cute look to them. In 4th place there is City Living, and City Living is awesome if you want to create a more modern interior, or if you are going for a loft kind of style, and also for a lot of artsy builds. So I really like a lot of the build items in City Living, and so it deserved the 4th place. And we are already in the top 3 of our final category, so soon it will be revealed which one is the best expansion pack overall. And in the 3rd place there is Cats and Dogs, and Cats and Dogs has so many beautiful build items to decorate an interior home, make it feel lived in and make it feel homey and cozy. And I just know from personal experience that when I decorate the interior of a build, I use Cats and Dogs items so much, and because of that I can only recommend the build and buy items from Cats and Dogs, and it had to be in the top 3. And also Cats and Dogs just has the most gorgeous trees. Second place just had to be seasons, because almost every single build that I do has the seasons windows and the seasons doors, and I just love them. But not only are the windows and doors the best in the game, in my personal opinion, but also the interior design items are gorgeous. I love the beds that came with seasons. I love a lot of the clutter items, and it's just so good for the build and buy mode. And the first place of our final category goes to Eco Lifestyle. I know Eco Lifestyle is a pretty new pack, but ever since it came out, there are just some items from Eco Lifestyle that just have to be in every single of my builds because I love them so much and they are so pretty. And because of that, I just had to give the first place for build and buy mode to Eco Lifestyle. There are such gorgeous items in there. It's just, I tried my best to put all of my favorites into this room that you are seeing right now, and I hope you understand I'm not the most talented interior designer, but those are just such gorgeous items. I love them. And that means the final scores are here, which you can hopefully see on the screen. And in first place as the best overall expansion pack is Get Together, and I'm very happy about that. I love Get Together, I use it a lot, and there are so many great aspects about Get Together, but also Cats and Dogs is very much up there in second place, even though I don't use the gameplay a lot. So if you are someone who really loves the gameplay with animals, go for it. Cats and Dogs is an amazing pack. And Eco Lifestyle is up there, Get Famous is up there, which is probably a pretty personal decision because I know a lot of people don't like Get Famous, but I personally like the gameplay, I like the creative sim items, and that is why it is so high up there. And one pack that did very poorly was Get to Work, which was the very first expansion pack. So apparently the Sims have kind of stepped up their game with expansion packs, which is kind of nice to see. And yeah, let me know what you think. What is your favorite expansion pack, and with which of my opinions do you agree and with which don't you agree? I would be very interested in that. And thank you so much for watching. I know this was a little bit longer of a video, so thank you, and I hope you liked and enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful if you want to decide on which expansion pack to buy, and if you would consider subscribing, you would make me super duper happy, and I hope we'll see each other again.